Hello and welcome to section 8.1, adding polynomials, as we start our very first chapter of nonlinear algebra. I know you're excited, so let's get going. Here we go with the very first vocab word. Our very first vocab word is a mononomial, and a mononomial is a number, a variable, or the product of both. Product meaning multiplication, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Also, the degree of a mononomial is the sum, which means addition of exponents of the variables in the mononomial. Right? It's the sum of exponents of the variables. So we'll check it out here as we go. So here we have some mononomials listed. We're going to check all the degrees. Well, here, how many exponents do you have on that 10? You have no exponents on that 10, so it gets a 0. Next, 3x is a mononomial because it is a number and a variable being multiplied together. And so how many exponents do you have on this x? You only have one exponent, so the degree of 3x is 1. Now here it gets a little bit trickier, where 1/2 ab squared is still a mononomial. But now how many exponents does that a have? A has 1. The b has 2, so you add those up to get the degree of 3. And then finally, negative 8.5 m to the 5th, that degree is 5, so the degree of the mononomial is 5. Now here are some examples of why it is not a mononomial and the reason here to the right. So this guy, 2 over n, the reason this guy can't be a mononomial because you cannot have a variable on the bottom of a fraction. Next, we are adding. You cannot add a number and a variable to be a mononomial. Guys, be very careful. This is not a mononomial, but it is a polynomial. You cannot have a variable exponent, or you cannot have a exponent of a negative number or a decimal. Let's try the next slide. A polynomial. A polynomial now is a sum of mononomials. So you could be adding or subtracting different mononomials together. Then we have the degree of a polynomial is the greatest degree in the polynomial, so the highest degree. And finally, the leading coefficient, but it is only when descending order from left to right, the coefficient of the first term. So let's go through a couple terms here. Well, this polynomial is written in descending order of degrees because we have 3 exponents here, 2 here, 1 there, so it's in descending order. So now the leading coefficient would be this 4. Then here is the degree, right? This polynomial is degree 3 because it's the highest power in the whole polynomial. And then, just so you know, this is a constant term. This is known as a constant term when there is no variable attached to it. So now let's go ahead and write each polynomial so that the exponents decrease from left to right, and we're going to identify the leading coefficient and the degree. So let's first go ahead and write the polynomial so the exponents decrease from left to right. So what is the highest exponent here? Here is 5n to the 3rd, so I'm going to put that first because it is the highest exponent. Then what comes second is the positive 2n, and then minus 9. So my degree is 3. And what is the leading coefficient? What is the number in front of the variable here? It is 5. Trying number 2. What is the highest exponent? It's an x to the 4th, but we have to be very careful because what's in front of the x to the 4th? There is a negative in front of the x to the 4th, so there's negative x to the 4th plus 15x plus 3. So what is our degree? Our degree is whatever is attached to the variable or the exponent of the variable. So our degree is 4. The leading coefficient now, what is in front of our variable? There's a negative. What's that negative stand for? A negative 1. Next, here we have some names for special polynomials. A binomial is a polynomial with 2 terms, and a trinomial is a polynomial with 3 terms. Now they keep going on and on, but the ones that you really have to know our binomial, which is 2 terms. Polynomial with 3 terms is a trinomial. So, starting off, is 9 a polynomial? Yes, it is, and its classification is a monomial. And what's the degree of that? It is 0, because there are no exponents. Next, here we have 1, 2, 3 terms attached through addition or subtraction, so this is a polynomial. With how many terms? There are 3 terms, so it is a trinomial. And then, what is the degree? What is the highest power? It is 2. Next, is this a polynomial? Well, this is, yes, but can you have that 8 to the n? No, that is not a polynomial, so therefore we cannot classify it. Next, starting with n to the negative second, we look at negative second. Can we have that as a polynomial? No, because we cannot have negative exponents, so therefore we cannot classify it. Next, we have a monomial here because it's multiplied number, letter, good. Number, a couple letters, that's still fine, so yes, it is a polynomial. It has 2 terms, so it is a binomial. Now remember here, we're only looking at the highest degree. Well, here we have 4. How many are on that C? There's only 1, so it's 4 plus 1, so our degree here is 5. Now let's get into adding polynomials. And to add polynomials, all we have to do is to add like terms. But before we do that, I want to get into adding like terms. I like to treat variables like fruits. So here I have 5a, which I'm going to make this a an apple, and this a an apple. And then hopefully we can see this. I'm going to make this guy a banana, and then the b the banana. So now if you're asked, how many apples do you have? Well, you have 5 apples and 4 apples sitting around. So you have a total of 9a. And then bananas I'm going to put in green just so we can see it a little bit better. But here we have 3b apples, but I'm taking away 3 bananas. I'm taking away 2 of those bananas. So you only have plus b. And so our final answer would be 9a plus b. Now let's do it without the fruits. Well, what are our like terms? Now I'm just going to underline it. We have an x for a different kind of fruit, and here's another x. So we add those up, so it's 12x. Next, we have a negative 5y and a negative 4y. Pay attention to the sign in front. So now when we add a negative 5 plus a negative 4, I come up with a negative 9y. So now it's a lot like a polynomial, but now here we have 2 trinomials added together. And so the very first thing I always want you to do for right now, until we get the hang of it, always look at that sign. We are adding. So when we're adding, we're just going to take everything out of the parentheses, and then as I keep writing it here, now you can just add like terms up. But guys, I have to see this step. It will help you later on for multiplying polynomials, which we haven't quite got to yet, or haven't gotten to it. So here is x cubed. Do I have any other x cubes? Yes, I do. I have an x cubed right there. How many do I have? I only have 1, so it's 3x cubed. Moving on to the next one. I have a negative 5x squared. Do I have an x squared? I have some more x squareds right there, so it's minus 3x squared. Do I have any more x's? No, I do not, so it's just plus x. Am I missing anything? Have I left anything out? Well, there's this plus 1. So then my final polynomial, my simplified polynomial, is 3x squared minus 3x squared plus x minus 1. And here I found a mistake, that this should be a 3. So this should be a 3x cubed minus 3x squared plus x minus 1. Let's try some more. So again, we look at it. We see a plus sign. What do we have to do? We have to take it out of the parentheses. Let's go ahead and take it right out of the parentheses. So I'm rewriting it. Now we look for any like terms. Do I have any x squareds? Well, I have 3 there. I have 1 there. Do I have any more? No, I do not. So I have 4x squared. Now, moving on to x and d. Here I have an xd. Do I have any more xd's? I have 4 xd's here. So how many xd's do I have total? I have 4 here, 1 there. So it's plus 5xd. And then finally, how many numbers do I have? I have -6 and I have a positive 10. So I have positive 4. Moving on to 3. Again, go ahead and rewrite it with that plus sign. So it's 4ax squared minus x squared plus 4 minus 2x squared plus ax squared minus 3x squared plus 1. So let's go ahead and find all our terms, starting with ax squared. Do I have any more ax's squared? I have an x squared, but there's no a, so it's not the same thing. Well, right here I do. So I have 1 here, I have 4 there, so it is 5ax squared. I'm keeping the same exponents because we're not multiplying. Now I'm looking for just x squareds. Well, I have an x squared there, I have an x squared there. Hey, look here, I have an x squared there as well. So I have -1, -3 total, and another -3, so I have -6 x squareds. And then finally, last term only with the numbers, I have 4 and 1 to make a positive 5. Alright guys, you're doing great. Hang in there. Now we're going to move to subtracting polynomials. This is why I want you to write it out, because of that subtraction sign right there. So when we do this, I have 4n squared plus 5n. Now when it comes to subtracting, it's a little bit different. I'm going to change all of these signs. I'm going to make all these signs opposite from what they were. So I'm making this -2n squared a plus 2n squared, then a minus 2n, then a minus 4. So now, once you change those signs, it's just like adding polynomials. So let's go ahead. Here I have 4n squared, here I have 2n squared, so I have 6n squared. Continuing down the line, do you have any n's? Yes, here are some n's. I have -2 right there, so now I have plus 3n. How many numbers are left? I just have -4. And then one more time, here we go. Again, we have a minus sign. We are subtracting polynomials. So I'm going to bring the first polynomial out. Now, guys, it's very important to know that you're only changing the signs of the second polynomial. The second polynomial, it's like you were distributing this negative to each term inside there. So it's going to be minus 3x a squared plus x plus 8. So now once I change all of these signs, I can now go ahead and add the polynomials. So I start with a -3x. Just know that this is a negative. I put that negative sign way out ahead of it. Here I have a x. So now it's -2x. Continuing, how about 4x a squared? And here's another xa squared. So I combine those. I have 4 of this guy. I have -3 of those guys. So I have plus x a squared. And if you want, you can put a 1 in front. You don't have to, though. And then finally, looking at your numbers, what do you just have for numbers? I have plus 13. Now I'm going to rearrange this because I want degrees, right? I want it in descending order. So I have x a squared, because here is 2, 1, and then minus 2x plus 13, and there it is in descending order of exponents. And that does it for section 8.1, adding and subtracting polynomials. Good day.